everybody. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make a sack garden, a burlap sack garden. And these are perfect for the city if you have only concrete to grow on, or you don't want to dig up land, or you live in a building like that. That's my building. So it's a great way to vertical garden in the city. And you can actually get burlap sacks usually for free at your coffee roasters. This is where I got mine, at Palette Coffee in Vancouver. This one has a heavier weight. There are some, you can use any kind that are lighter weight. It's okay. You can, once you put soil in it, it'll stand up straight. So we're gonna start with our burlap sack. Oh, actually, I'll just tell you what you need first, other than the burlap sack. You need an X-Acto knife and a pair of scissors, your seedlings and some seeds, what you want to plant inside your sack. Then you need some compost and some soil. I managed to get all of this stuff for free, so you can really be resourceful in a city, probably in rural areas as well. On Craigslist is where I found my compost and my free soil, which if you want any more information, just contact me after this. So, and because of right now it's COVID time, and for physical distancing reasons, I'm going to show you how to do it by yourself. If you have a family member that can hold your sack open or something, that would be great, but you can do it by yourself as well. So we start with the sack, and it'll be easier when it's a little bit more full after. Just get some soil in there, and I usually, about a quarter of the sack, or maybe a bit more, can be compost. So just do that. You can stir up your soil and your compost together first if you want. If not, so I'm just trying to do this as quickly as possible. As you see, we're in a cityscape here, so there might be some car noise and other fun neighbors that come by. Yeah, the great thing about sack gardening is you've probably heard of people growing potatoes in sacks and stuff like that, but which is great, because potato towers, you want to pile up the soil on top of your potato shoots, and so they're really good to use for potatoes. But people don't know that you can actually grow a really abundant garden from this whole sack. You can plant all around it and grow a lot of food, for a small family, even depending on what you plant in there. And burlap is really biodegradable. Last year when I made these, after 3 months, I planted it on grass, and the bottom of the sack had completely disintegrated after only 3 months. So they're really good for breathability. I learned how to make these sack gardens in the slums of Nairobi and Kampala, and there they do it a little bit differently, because they use plastic rice sacks so that they're not as breathable. But here we have amazing. Today we're using a Colombian coffee Fairfield. Oh, Singapore. No, single. Anyway, I can't read. This is horse manure compost that I got from this ranch just outside of Vancouver yesterday for free, full of red wigglers. So I want to just even it out a bit. My soil I got from a It's actually potting soil. It's full of perlite. Might not be ideal, but you could really use, as long as you have compost and other, maybe vermicompost and other amendments, you can pretty much use anything. And this soil came from a sprout company, and I think health and safety bylaws say that they can't reuse their soil, so they just got piles of it in Vancouver, and you can come get it free. So when you're resourceful, you can start looking at Craigslist and other things like that to find your sources, and I'm just evening that out. Sure. Actually, you probably use half and half. That's kind of what I'm doing now. It's not an exact science. You can experiment a lot. Gardening is not always about following exact rules. You can have fun with it. When I first started gardening, I was really concerned with, am I doing it right? Am I getting all the read all the packet instructions exactly. You don't have to do it exactly. And every farmer, every gardener has their own techniques, and so you don't always have to. Yeah. But with sack gardening, one thing that's important is you want to make sure, you want to think about companion planting, because everything grows inside one sack. So certain things don't like each other, and there are lots of resources online, and certain plants don't grow well side by side. So it's good to know what you're planting inside your sack. So I'm gonna fill it up. So now it's pretty dry. My soil is really dry. So I'm just gonna water it as it'll get compacted down a bit. The nice thing about these sacks is that you can water the outside of them, and so it can stay really moist once you planted stuff inside. It makes it way easier for it to absorb water from all the sides and everything. This is really dry. In a really hot place, they do dry out fairly. It takes a while for the water to really absorb. You have to water it quite a bit, like every day, like a normal garden. But if you live in a cooler climate, you can retain moisture pretty well. There are different techniques. Like last year, I tried using this coconut coir. There are different things you can experiment with your sack, like biochar. Right now I'm using the simplest form of what you need to do to make a sack garden, because we have a pandemic going on, so it's kind of hard to get resources. Even getting this compost was kind of complicated, because they only do deliveries, and I had to find a friend to come with me. But anyway, last year I tried to, there's a mattress recycling place in Vancouver, and they give away this free coconut coir, which is amazing. So there's always lots of resources you can find out about that can maybe help with amendments in your garden. So I rolled this up last year. I'll attach pictures to this video so you can see how I did it last year. It worked pretty well. I had the center part was just this coconut coir. It also, you use less soil in your sack when you fill it up with something else like that. It helps with water retention. So in Africa, the way they do it, they put a column of stones down the middle, and it helps disperse the water. There are lots of interesting ways to do it. This time I just doing it with straight just soil and compost just to make it as easy as possible with the least amount of things needed. But yeah, like biochar is a great thing to help with water retention in your sack if you find that it's drying out too easily. Okay, so I'm gonna put a bit more soil and fill it right to the top because we plant stuff right in the top of it as well. On top. Okay. So you usually have to prop up, well, the sack is standing pretty well, but you know, depending, you want to prop it up, or you can put a rock underneath, or I'm going to prop it up against this tree. So you want to be able to plant all around your sack. And that's why it gives you the most. You can intensively grow a lot of food on this. This is a whole garden. Okay. This is good for now. You can always just add more soil later or whatever. So we have to decide now where we're gonna put our, alright, so what we're gonna plant today is, I have some broccoli, Swiss chard, bok choy, some onions, some nasturtium seeds that I grew last year. You can grow all kinds of stuff in here, and I find seedlings are a little easier to, in our climate in Vancouver, we're in zone 8 or 9. So we have a pretty short growing season, so if you start with seedlings, it's kind of gives you more of a head start. But you can grow from seed from in the sack as well, so it just depends on what you want to grow. And later on, right now it's not time to plant beans, but I'm trying to plant beans, and also I have some kale seedlings growing in my garden. I'm going to transplant them a bit later, so I'll just plant a few things for now. So you would, just decide where you're gonna do it. Don't remember that, like, I'm gonna plant nasturtiums from the top. They cascade down, and they're really cool edible flowers that are also attract aphids, so they're good for your garden because they'll kind of ward away the aphids from your other plants. So I love to plant nasturtiums with all my food. Also, onions are always a really great companion plant because they also kind of attract insects that you don't want on your other food. So just start, I don't know how I'm going to design it. I guess you can design it how you want, but let's start up here. Okay. Just start really easy to cut. Make a hole. Kind of want to make a hole like that. Cut all your holes first so you can see where you're gonna do everything. Maybe, yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's just kind of, you can add more later depending on. Last year I grew a big broccoli, so it kind of went sideways, and they take up a lot of space. So remember that you need to think about what's going to be there. Bok choy can get also really big when you have things off the top. Yeah, I'll have the nasturtiums here, and you can have things near the bottom. Well, actually, it's going to create shade, so you have to remember that stuff. Where's your sun coming from? But I mean, you could always flip your sack around, and so put one up here too. Okay. So we'll start with, these are store-bought, so they're very inexpensive. You can start your own seedlings at home if you want, but broccoli is kind of hard if you don't have a greenhouse or a heating pad, or they get leggy really easily. So I find it easier just to, one day, hopefully I'll be able to grow seedlings in my apartment. So, got broccoli right here. You can just push it. You want to try to get it not like this. Try to get it straight. It'll eventually do its own thing, but at the beginning, it's good to just go. And then you can sort of get the soil from around it. Actually, get it as close to the edge as possible. And grab soil from the top and bring it down. There we go. That's good for now. And we want bok choy up here. So it's good to have things like, say kale, where you could keep picking from the sack, so you don't waste space with something that takes so long to grow. But I'm doing it with broccoli now because I have a lot of other growing spaces. But you want to think about, lettuce or bok choy you can keep coming back to over and over again, but it doesn't just take up space for long periods of time without producing anything. Go. Try to get it straight. Even if it's not straight, you'll see that plants will find any way possible to get towards the sun, and yeah, they're really resilient. So let's do a Swiss chard. And don't forget how big your plants can get. So you always kind of, when you're planting a garden, think of the space it will need later. Even though it's tiny right now, it won't take long and it'll be huge. So put a Swiss chard in here. There we go. Yeah, I didn't wet it enough, so it's still kind of dry, but you want to wet it for a really long time. So that's that for now. Then I'll plant some nasturtium seeds. Put a whole bunch in one section, so it'll be nice coming off this side. That's not really wet enough. I don't want to take 20 minutes you watching me water this garden, but make sure your soil's really wet. So plant these nasturtiums up here. There we go. I'm gonna put a cabbage on one side. I'm doing this in my neighborhood, so I like it. I want it to look pretty as well. And you never know though. Last year I spent 3 months growing my broccoli in my sack, and then a week before I was about to harvest it, somebody took it. So those are the perils of urban farming and urban gardening. You kind of have to practice non-attachment and do it for the greater good. So I'm planting this sack in my very busy neighborhood that's on a bike path, and you never know what's gonna happen. So just plant these and set them free. I'm gonna add more soil because it went down again. compost. And maybe some onions on top. I tried planting some onions on the side last year. It didn't work as well as the ones that I planted on top. So I'll just add these. Okay, so cabbage is gonna get like this big. So, and then we have nasturtiums that are gonna kind of come like this. So I'll just put them back here. And don't, like when plants are, you don't have to fear putting them way too close together. They'll find a way to grow. You know, it's not like, you know, you can just see what works best. I'm gonna pull these apart because they're all gonna turn into onions that are kind of like this big. So I'll plant them all around actually. Plant them over here as well. So, one here. Herbs are really good for these. You could have a whole, these are kind of close together, herb garden. And these. There. So I would plant the whole, I'm going to plant the whole thing all the way around. And yeah, just keep planting. And you can see pictures that I'll post as well of what it looks like when the whole thing is really abundantly growing. You can barely even see the sack and all this food is growing everywhere. I'll go like this. And the nice thing is that if your sack gets really dry, you can actually get like right into the hole and kind of water it right in the hole like that. And you can water it outside. So yeah, that's it. That's what you need to do to grow a sack garden. And these are temporary. You probably have to, you probably can't use the sack over again after a season. So it's good to just for a temporary spot. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.